Our learning target is I can solve problems involving arrays and area. Your success criteria today is I will know I am successful when I can find the area of shapes by counting square units. Let's think about what we already know. This is an array of squares. We know that an array is objects that are ordered in rows and columns. This array has 2 rows and 10 columns. If I count the columns, there's 10 of them. We also know that we can find the total number of objects in an array by writing a repeated addition equation. In this case, we have 2 rows, so that's two rows or 2 groups, and each one of them has 10 in it. So that's 10 plus 10 equals 20 squares. This thinking will help us understand area. Let's look at this array. How is this array different than the previous one? Of course, these tiles are lined up closely next to each other and there are no spaces. And that is really an important thing when we're talking about area. But before we get there, let's figure out how many squares there are in this array using what we already know about rows and columns. There are 2 rows and there are 6 columns. So that makes 2 groups of 6. So quickly in your head, come up with a repeated addition equation that we could use to figure out the total number of squares in this unit. Of course, it's 6 plus 6 equals 12 squares, and I could count them to prove it, but let's go on to the next one. What is area? Area is a space inside of a plane figure. And a plane figure is just what you and I have talked about being a 2-dimensional shape. So this is a 2-dimensional rectangle, and 3-dimensional shapes take up space. So a 2-dimensional shape would be a square, but a 3-dimensional shape would be a cube. So when we find area, we are just thinking about flat shapes or plane figures. And the area is all of this space inside of the shape. And so when we do that, we need to count squares. We need to think about squares instead of when we measure a line, we measure one single line, and it's a linear measurement. These are square measurements. We can see that this rectangle has 3 rows and it has 6 columns. And when I want to count those, an easy way that you can count rows and columns is I know the rows are going to go all the way across. So I can count 1, 2, 3, and I'm thinking about the whole row across. And then I can count the columns the same way. I know the column goes all the way down, so I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that makes 6 columns. So if I want to find out the total number of squares in this array, I'm really finding the area, the space in this rectangle. So I'm going to do the repeated addition equation to do that, and I know I have 3 groups of 6 or 3 rows of 6. So I have 6 3 times. 6 plus 6 is 12 plus 6 is 18. And when I find area, I have to think about square units because I'm not measuring a line. So this would not be like 18 inches because I'm not measuring like the outside. I am measuring the squares inside. And we don't know if these are foot tiles or if they are inch tiles, but we are going to use units because it's a generic term that applies to any unit when we're not sure. But we have to use the term square units to understand we are measuring the flat surface. Let's do this one together. How many rows? Well, let's count them together. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm counting the first square to represent the entire thing. So that's 4 rows, and I have 1, 2, 3 columns. That means that I have 4 groups of 3. So I have to add 3 4 times. So I have 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 3 more is 12. So it is 12 square units. Now I could check myself. I can count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And there are truly 12 square units in this rectangle. So there's two ways to figure it out. There are two strategies. You can write a repeated addition equation, or you can count them. And counting them is okay when their rectangles are small, but when they get big or when something's hidden inside, that's going to cause us a problem. This one is for you. Pause the video, solve this problem, figure out the rows and columns and the area, and then start the video to check your work. Pause the video now. All right, let's do this one together. Let's see. We have 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. That means we have 3 groups of 5. We need to add 5 3 times. So we have 1 or 5, 10, 15. 15 square units. That's not so hard. And again, we could check our work and count them. And when we counted all the squares, this last one would be 15. 15 square units is the area of this shape. Look at this shape. What do you notice? I have screened out some of the tiles. We need to figure out the area of the entire shape. But some of the tiles are hidden. So I have to be thinking about what I know about rows and columns. And imagine the rows going across. And remember, now watch when I think about this one aloud. I remember that we can count the beginning of the row, and I know that that's the row across. So I'm going to count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 rows. And I know the columns are going to go all the way down. So I'm going to count the top. 1, and I can't forget this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 columns. That means I have 6 groups of 6. So I have to add 6 6 times. So I'm going to have 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 6 more is 18, plus 6 more is 24, plus 6 more is 30, and plus 6 more is 36 square units. And remember, when you're adding this many addends, you can make tick marks, you can add up, you can add 2 of them, and then add those 2 and put them, add 2 and 2 and 2, and then add all of it together. Whatever strategy works for you. So we know that the area of this entire shape is 36 square units. Let's check our work. Let's reveal it and now count, because we know the other strategy is just to count the tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Yep, 36 square units. Now counting is tedious and it takes a long time. So adding with repeated addition is probably an easier way, as long as it is a rectangle or a square and you have the same number in each row. Here's one for you to try. It's just like the last one. I want you to pause the video and I want you to figure out how many rows, how many columns. Figure out the total area of the shape. Pause the video. How did you do? Well, hopefully what you did looks something like this. Let's count the rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm counting down a column, but what I'm really doing, remember, is counting up the row. So there's 1, 2, and when we got down, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 rows. Let's do the columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it looks like I'm counting across a row, but I'm really counting this first one for the entire column going down. So it's 4 columns. That means I have 5 groups of 4. I have to add 4 5 times. So it's 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16, plus 4 more is 20. 20 square units. And note that I did abbreviate square. So square is SQ period, and it's a short way, and you may do that in your work as well. But you need to write the whole word units because we don't know what these are. We don't know if they're inches or centimeters. Let's check our work. Let's see if 20 square units is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yep, we have it right. 20 square units. Your success criteria today was to find the area of shapes by counting square units. Have fun doing your problems on your own.